actually entering it into your food or not. The main problem is inhalation and the eating of the seafood. But whether it is going into your agriculture produce or not, that is yet to be studied.
Can we take any more questions online, offline, please?
So I'm sorry, we are running out of time, but we'll be more than happy to connect offline for all the questions. Thank you so very much, sir. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you. Well, our next session is all set to begin, and this is a very interesting session on our next segment, Indian Metro Rail, the pillar of transport system in India. May I now extend a very warm welcome to our speakers as we set the stage right here. One of our panelists will be joining us virtually, so please do support us as we are trusting technology to take a lead right here. Now joining in our panelists right here on stage are Mr. Amitabh Banerjee, CMD, IRFC. Please put your hands together as I also present to you Mr. Ved Prakash Jadeja, Vice Chairman, RLDA, Mr. Jitendra Tyagi, Managing Director, Uttarakhand Metro Rail Corporation. Joining us virtually will be Mr. Loknath Behera, MD, Kochi Metro Rail Corporation. And of course, moderating the session, we have Mr. Karun Sareen, Partner, KPMG India. May I request all of you to please put your hands together. We will have Mr. Loknath Behera join us virtually up on the screen for you. All our speakers will be able to see them on the monitor in front of them. And please do remember, after this session, we have some spectacular gifts coming for our interactive audience members, and also a very special felicitation ceremony for the game changers of the industry. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for introducing us. Due to the paucity of time, I think we will leave the introductions aside and we will straight away jump into the topic. I can only say that it's a very distinguished panel where we have people who are in charge of financing large infrastructure in rail and metro sector. We have people who are operating a full-blown metro in Kochi, and we have got in our panel experts who are in charge for a huge station redevelopment program, world's largest station redevelopment program, which is ongoing in India. And then we also have somebody who has more than 3 decades of experience on, and he has seen it all. So 3 decades of experience in construction, implementation of Metro Rail project in Delhi, and now he's the MD of Uttarakhand Metro Rail Corporation Limited. So we have a power-packed panel, and I will try to direct some pointed questions to them for the benefit of the audience. And I would try to make sure that at least 10 to 15 minutes are left for the audience to also interact. Before I jump into questions, I would just set the context. So there are studies, and it was a very, we had a previous session, we had a powerful presentation, which not only explained that road transport is unsustainable because of the exhaust, but because of rubber tires. I never thought that that can also be one of the reasons. But obviously, there's a strong case for metros because they're more efficient, environmentally efficient, and of course, they take less road space, and hence it makes perfect sense to have a public transport system, a mass transport system, which is based on rail. Studies have actually shown that there's a strong correlation between the economic development and urban mobility. And we all know that it is projected by the 100th year of independence, which is 2047, the urban population in India would double. So we are today at 43, 44 crores, 430 million. It's going to double to about 820 million. So it's going to increase. To cater to such a vast demand, there has to be a modal shift from private to public. Currently, only 18% people in the country are traveling on public transport. So there has to be for sustainability, there has to be a shift to public transport. And metro rail will play an important role. And as the topic suggests, it is one of the pillars of transport system in India. Over the last 6 to 7 years, urban transport sector has grown at a very fast clip. with about 500 kilometers which got added and today we have about 19 cities where the metro projects are operational. And it is planned that by the 100th year of independence to 2047, about 75 urban cities or cities would have urban transport system, and the total length of metro and urban transport system will be around 5,000 kilometers. So that's the extent of what you call the ambition that is there for the urban transport system. With this, I think we can start our discussions, and I will start my discussions by first shooting my questions to Mr. Beheria, because I guess he's also having some tight schedule and he has to also have some other commitments as well. So Mr. Beheria, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So Mr. Beheria, you have been a cop and all your life and have been in public service. Now you have taken over as the MD of Kochi Metro Rail. I would want to understand from you, what has your been experience on the impact you would have, because you would have seen the public from close corners, impact of metro rail system on the city.
I'll just tell you. See, this city of Kochi, I consider is the most beautiful city in this country because it has very, very unique things. And it has a robust water transport system. It is extremely beautiful. It has sea, is port. It has one of the best airports in the country, and all that kinds you can add. Metro is the last entrant. Now we are actually going to put the water metro. That is a different subject altogether. I'll say water metro will be the first in the world. We are going to actually poised to inaugurate it very shortly. Now what is happening is that when I was also the police commissioner of this city long back. So I have seen over the period of time, when that time the metro rail was not there. The skyline was totally different. The pattern of traffic was also different. Now, after coming of the metro, many of the things have changed. The traffic has become a little smoother, though it has increased quite a, I'll give you a very interesting statistics you will understand. Kerala state, which is having a population of around 3.7 crores, has got 1.99 crore vehicles. So you can see it is the highest density in the whole of the country. And in that city, state, highest density of vehicle is in Cochin. So what is happening is that the metro rail definitely has eased the traffic congestions to some extent, though not fully. Now we are going to the next generation, actually kind of thing like water metro. We have got the feeder services like the electric vehicles. Now we are inducting quite a number of electric autos for the first mile and last mile connectivity. These are all happening together on a very technological platform. So we'll be the first city in this country very shortly that you buy one instrument, whether it is a token or a ticket like London, and you can travel in any of the public transport systems. This is the idea which technology is a great leveler. That is what is happening. So I should say metro rail has a definitely impact in not only in the transport system or traffic management, but also socioeconomically. Of course, people are very happy that their land prices have gone up. So some people are dukhi ho jate hain kyunki hum kharid nahi payenge. Actually, some people are happy because they can actually earn a lot of money. A lot of business activities have taken place. That's what it is metro, and it will be all there, whether it is in Uttarakhand or whether it is Chennai, whether it is that. Actually, some people who are actually started early, some people who are late starters are also gainers, and all the best of the experience should be shared. One last thing I wanted to say, the metro rail companies are like brothers and sisters. So what has happened is that they are all together. So whatever I do and it is replicated somewhere something good happens, I also replicate that. It is like that. It is actually mutual dependencies there. So it is only because It is the people want it that way.
Sure. Mr. Beheria, another question that I want to ask you is that this lower patronage on the metro rail system has been a concern. For example, Kochi, I don't know the exact numbers, but it is around 65,000 people travel a day. Of course, the target is to do 1 lakh a day, 365 lakhs in 365 days. But what are the ways you are planning so that the ridership can improve? What steps KMRCL is taking to bring more people on the metro rail network?
Look, actually, it's a very difficult task because the traffic or the movement pattern gets into the head. When I was in Delhi, though knowing fully that I can travel, my office was in Chanakyapuri, I could have easily traveled in metro. But I used to always say I used to take the car. Similarly, there are certain mindsets which are all stuck up in the minds. Here, what happens? The metro rail alignment is there. People live away from that place. So what we call the first mile and last mile connectivity, if it is not there, people will not come to the metro. So 65,000 to 1 lakh, it is wavering. Sometimes we also reach 1 lakh. So when there is a football match or something, it immediately reaches 1 lakh or more than that. But what has happened, you are right. Many of the people who can travel in metro are not traveling the metro because of the first mile and last mile. वो बोलता है चलो यार वो घर से फिर निकलना है मोटर तो एक फिर ऑटो लेना है या टैक्सी लेना है उसके बाद we have to go to in the metro. Metro is very convenient because it reaches in time, it is air conditioned and perfect timing, no delay, nothing. All these things are there. The people know it also here. But they don't do because of this particular thing. मैं फिर office कैसे जाऊंगा? So we thought that we will improve this first mile and last mile connectivity to get around 10% more. But apart from that, some of the things we have to rationalize. For example, vis-a-vis the bus, the cost of the tickets are definitely little higher. If a particular distance I was taking, for a distance of say 20 kilometers, if the bus charge is say 40 rupees, the metro charge is 60 rupees. Though the comfort and other things. So after some days, he said that, no, let me actually save the money by going by bus. That is one. So what we are going to do, we add more services. Yesterday, we are the first people to put high-speed internet in all the trains. So now, any person who is actually traveling for 30 to 40 minutes, he can do work sitting there in his laptop or an IT-enabled device sitting there. You will get free internet access inside the train. We actually used a new type of technology to actually induce that. So some such kind of things you have to do because rationalizing, you can say that if I make the ticket 5 rupees tomorrow, I'll get more people. But it will not be actually economically very viable because we have invested so much of money for this metro. So add more services and woo the people that and give more actually this first mile and last mile connectivity at a reasonable rate. The ease of travel, if it is there, supportive, coordinated, sustainable support, then your ridership will increase. I have put a target on me that by December 31st, I must get 1 lakh average. That means 365 lakhs every year.
Thank you so much, Mr. Behera. Now I will go to Mr. Tyagi. And sir, you have been in this sector for 3 decades now, more than 3 decades, rail and metro sector. And you have seen how things have evolved since DMRC got operational in 2002 and then now 20 years. So what major changes have you seen which have happened in the last 2 decades of your career? And what do you think is the outlook for future?
See, metro, if you see the history, the first metro was in Delhi. And that time, metro was decided that we will make metro on these routes. There were certain changes also. There was no scientific method of deciding the routes. I'm talking about the changes. Now, Ministry of Urban Affairs, they brought a metro policy in 2017, which has stipulated very detailed guideline how a city can plan a metro. You cannot plan a metro on gut feeling that somebody says that, yes, this route needs a metro because when I traveled that day, there was a lot of traffic. So this route needs a metro. This philosophy is not correct. And in many cities where the ridership is less, probably the region is, one of the regions is maybe this also. So now the scientific way of planning a metro is that you have to first make a comprehensive mobility plan of that city or area or metropolitan area or region. That comprehensive mobility plan will tell you the requirement of mobility. People want to move from A to B, C to D, E to F. Certain corridors will be identified first. And that, again, they will classify it into 2 or 3 categories. Corridors having high potential will be classified as corridor level 1, then level 2. So only level 1 corridor where the ridership requirement PHPDT is more than, say, 4,000, 5,000 or 2,000. Probably you can think of some public transport. If it is lower, then improvement in bus service itself may prove to be okay. Then once you have decided certain corridors in the CMP, and CMP does not give only about the metro, it gives the improvement about the mobility in all fields, junction improvement, road improvement, where you need flyovers, freight management also. It's not only the people movement, but also the freight movement, which is also important for the city. Then when you have decided the corridor, then you have to make alternative analysis. That means for going from point A to B, there can be 2-3 routes. Which route is the best, which will serve the people? And then what technology is the best suited technology? And in technology, mainly the main factor is how much PHPDT is there. If you have higher PHPDT, probably metro, high capacity metro like Delhi is required. If it is less, then probably metro light or LRT. In Europe, you call LRT. We have coined the word metro light is to be planned. So this way, a lot of changes have happened. And one more major change which has happened in that policy, that it does not speak only about the developing metro. It speaks about the developing the entire region. Land use changes, the concept of transit-oriented development is there. So that you first attempt of any city should be to reduce the requirement of mobility. If you can provide daily needs or the workplace nearby the residences, the need itself will come down. So first attempt is to reduce the need of the travel by transit-oriented development. And then when you need, then you plan metro. So these are the changes which at a policy level they have come. And I want to comment on that part which you said that the ridership is less. The ridership is less because of one reason is that probably we planned metro without making all these scientific studies, number one. Number two, last mile connectivity, which has been told. And thirdly, which is very important, that metro, unless it covers the major part of the city, that means it fulfills the requirement from end to end. Then only the people will be attracted. If it serves only part of their journey, nobody would like to shift from one mode to the other mode. So that is also very important, that making one corridor in a city is not going to give you ridership. In Delhi also, if you see the history, when the line 1 was made, the ridership was hardly any. After phase 2, the ridership started increasing because connectivity was more. After phase 3, ridership has multiplied. Because now city you can reach to any other part of the city. That is also important. And last point, it is a mindset or the inertia. The Delhi Metro patronage was started from students. Early in 2004 when the metro was started, mainly the students started coming to the metros, youngsters started coming metros. And when they have grown up, they continued their habit. Those persons who were middle-aged at that time, they did not change because of hassles of how we'll operate the AFC, how we'll buy the ticket, how we'll use the smart card. So because of this inertia, people did not move. And now it is patronage because the students, which they joined at the age of 18, They are now at 40. Even then, they are continuing. So these are the important factors for increasing the ridership. Thank you.
I think the biggest criticism that we see on metro is that it is not viable. It is not financially viable. So I'll come to Mr. Banerjee and I want to understand. Of course, Mr. Tyagi touched upon it, but what are the, how can the financial viability be improved? Because we have seen in the various sessions that there is need for metros. It is the most efficient metro. It is the most efficient means of transport. And with the way urbanization is happening, there is very limited solutions that we have. So given that context, what is, how this financial viability can be improved?
Well, I thank you for having me here. Although I'm not eminently suited to comment on the metro working and the viability thereof, because I'm not presently not in the metro sector, but I have been once upon a time in, the last decade. I was there in Delhi Metro, and I've seen Delhi Metro working at very close quarters. Now, you see, basically, a metro project is a capital guzzling project. It just eats, drinks capital, a lot of capital. It's extremely capital intensive, and the break-even, the tenor is extremely long. I mean, come what may, I mean, you may have a lot of ridership going. Still, to break even the, to recoup the capital cost is a very, it's a Herculean task. And therefore, we have to ensure that we have at least the operating profit, if not the final net profit after the, this is very difficult because after meeting the debt obligations and all, it's very difficult. Now, what we have seen is over the years that the financing of metro is, the mix is like, 40% is contributed by the equity holders, that is the state government and the union government for, pitching in with 20% each, and then 60% is through multilateral agencies, mostly JICA in case of metros. Now, JICA was still viable in the sense that the rate of interest was pretty low. At my time, it was about 1.5% with 10-year moratorium period, 30-year repayment. So it is very, very easy payment terms, repayment terms. The interest obligations were not too high, although in totality, the interest obligations do contribute to the enhancement of the project cost. Now, therefore, the point is viability of a metro project per se is somehow, I mean, it is outlandish to expect. You should not expect that the metro projects would be viable. Basically, metro project is a socio-economic project. It is meant for the public at large. It is not meant to rake in any revenue. But of course, I mean, everybody strives towards, towards at least recovery of the principal, along with the, not the principal, but the project cost, which includes the repayment of the principal as well as the interest thereon. So for that, I mean, it needs a lot of efforts. There are many efforts that government is doing, like my earlier speaker, he had mentioned about the National Metro Rail Policy of 2017, which did talk of various measures to be taken, especially the first and last mile connectivity. And it also talked about decreasing the cost of metros per se, because during my time, I still remember about 120 crore per kilometer was for an elevated track, and about 300 crores, depending on the geophysical conditions, 300 crores for the underground. Now it has gone up to by more than 2 times that particular figure. So the cost is extremely huge. So we can talk of some more, efficient construction methods in metro, like Metro Light is there. There's another concept of Metro Neo. In case of Metro Light, I think there's a 40% cost reduction. In case of Metro Neo, there's 25% cost reduction, Metro Neo 25%, I mean 40%, something like that. So, I mean, those kinds of models can be thought of. Then we can think of, towards increasing the viability of the metro projects. You can think of harnessing the renewable energy. Many of the metros are going in that particular direction of, harnessing at least 40% of the total energy cost from the renewable sources. So these are a few methods through which I mean, you can strive towards betterment of the viability of the project, but to imagine that this would be a very profitable project. No, I mean, that was not the intent at the outset. This is meant for the society at large, and it has got a lot of spin-off effect in terms of employment generation, in terms of other tertiary industries that comes up along with the metro project. So it has to be looked at in totality. Therefore, yes, viability is a question that needs to be addressed, and you need to really think of ways and means to increase the efficiency and the productivity of the metro system.
Banerjee. I think, as you rightly said, there are hardly any metros or very few metros in the world globally which are profitable, net cost profitable. Operationally, of course, India also has 3 or 4 metros today which are operationally profitable. But globally, Hong Kong comes to mind, which follows this rail plus property model. So here I would want to bring in Mr. Dudeja, because they are doing something similar or planning something similar for large cities where the station redevelopment program is embarked. So I want to understand from Mr. Dudeja, how are you planning to develop these large stations in the cities where you also integrate the transit-oriented development or the property development with the stations, so that the entire infrastructure is sustainable, financially sustainable?
Thank you for inviting me here. Before that, if I'm allowed to supplement what
Yeah.
Mr. Amitabh told about metros. Obviously, metro are highly capital intensive projects, and nobody expects that we can recover the cost of the project from operations and maintenance. But I remember when the first 5-6 kilometer of stretch was opened in 2002 or 3 between that Shastri Park and Shahadra. I read an article in the newspapers where some very prominent newspaper commented, "Do India need such an expensive toy?" So that was a mindset. It is not, today we can't even imagine that Delhi can survive without metro. So it's not the cost. If we remember in 2002, the real estate market of Dwarka, it was hardly, we were able to get a house in 20 lakh rupees. Today you can't get even in 3 crore of rupees. So these are the benefits which society at large will get once connectivity is given. And once connectivity is given, you can always get those benefits. Even government can garner some of these benefits to set off the cost of the project. Means you can charge cess on the registration of properties in the areas which are being connected by the metro. So these are the areas where we can garner revenues to make the metro sustainable. So that was what I just wanted to supplement, although not my mandate for today's session. Stations, yes, about stations, every one of us knows how stations came up when railway started. Most of these stations were outside the cities, and they were because huge land was required. So most of them came in a jungle area where no development was there. But over a period of time, they have become almost like city centers, and the development has taken place on both sides of the station. And today we see we are in the heart of the towns, in the heart of the cities. Stations are there, but these are creating kind of obstacle from crossing from one part of the city to the other side of the city. So we have become a barrier between two parts of the city, and we cannot connect the two parts. So government thought that these stations should be developed in an integrated way, so that they integrate the two parts of the town. First part is they should integrate the two parts of the town. Then a lot of development has taken place, unplanned development has taken place very near to these stations. So there have been a lot of connectivity issues. Roads have become highly saturated, or there are no adequate infrastructure for approaching the stations. So if we take the example of New Delhi, I think all of you must have missed a train from Paharganj side once in your life. So when we are now planning New Delhi station, which we have already invited tenders for their construction and EPC, and this being funded by government, fully by the government budget. We have planned a huge road infrastructure around the station. About 23 lane kilometers of elevated roads are being planned all around the station. And we are widening all the roads which are leading to the station. Panchkuya Road, Chelmsford Road, Bhavabhuti Marg, all are being widened by providing railway land for widening the roads. Then we are taking off from Deen Dayal Upadhyay Marg directly to the elevated level. From Panchkuya Road, one road which is totally non-functional today, Basant Road, that is being widened. And from there we are taking an elevated road so that the road traffic which approaches the station from North Delhi, from West Delhi, it can directly approach the, can directly go to the station without touching the Connaught Place. So our aim when we were planning this station was to decongest Connaught Place so that people, they can directly reach the station without touching the business area. This was our main aim. Then we are providing a kind of roof plaza, which is a salient feature of all the stations which we are developing. We are not doing any incremental development in the station. It's a major upgradation and major upgradation of infrastructure and facilities over the stations. Roof plaza is being provided, like in Delhi, we are providing a roof plaza of about 15 acres over the platforms, where people can sit and wait over the plaza. They can enjoy the ambience of that area. It will be like a airport waiting lounge type. And when your train is about to come, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes before the arrival of the train, you can get down to the particular platform. You don't need to congest the platform. You don't need to have a uncomfortable standing on the platform for hours where there is no place to even sit. So this is the major plan which we have envisaged in the station development. Government of India has already sanctioned about 55 projects of station development in last two budgets. In supplementary budget of 21-22, they sanctioned a work worth 12,000 crores. And in this current year's budget, they sanctioned about 5,500 crore worth of umbrella work. And 3 works of New Delhi, Mumbai Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus and Ahmedabad. They have been approved by Cabinet, Union Cabinet on 28th of September this last month. And it's about 12 days. And we have already invited EPC tenders for all the 3 stations. So this is the plan which we envisage in the station development.
Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Tyagi, I want to bring you here. I want to understand, because you touched upon these new modes of or variants of metro systems, the Metro Neo and Metro Light. In Uttarakhand, for example, these are smaller cities, tier 2 cities. Now, what are the plans? Are we going with the conventional metro system, or are we planning to have the lighter versions of metro, or maybe Metro Neo for implementation?
You see, our master plan is about 100 kilometers, out of which 2 corridors, about 22 kilometers is in Dehradun, where we have planned Metro Neo. Actually, we planned Metro Light earlier, because this Metro Neo concept has been brought in by Mahua only 2 years back. So after that, we shifted from Metro Light to Metro Neo. But after listening to Mr. Raghu, I'm really worried that are we going to create so much pollution in the air. But in that context, I would like to request Mr. Raghu that you have given a very insight details of this rubber tires systems. Probably it would have been better if a comparison with metro, because metro wheels are also creating pollution. Because when any system, when there is a friction, there will be some wear and tear of the rubber tire here. There is a wear and tear of rail as well as steel. I don't know whether steel particles are more harmful than rubber or they are less harmful. Probably a comparison would have been better. Otherwise, it looks like a one-sided story. For example, in a traction system, when I was in Delhi Metro, there was a lot of debate about 25 kVA versus third rail. If you listen to one group, they will always advocate 25 kV elevated system, and the other group will always oppose it, and they will give all positive points of the third rail system. So what is right? Only when the comparison of is given, then only we can probably decide about that part. So, for example, one more very recent thing. Late, I think, 70s, when the plastic was brought in, everybody was praising plastic, that our trees will now, we will not be required to cut our trees. And plastic was circulated everywhere, all over the world. After 30 years, you are again back to this same. So that time we did not visualize that what plastic will do. Same thing, what Mr. Braghu also has brought out, that electrical vehicles. What pollution they are going to create, we do not probably know. Similarly, in metro system, we have planned Metro Neo, because Metro Neo costing is almost 60-65% of Metro Light. And it is mainly because of no-frill stations. And signaling system is also not up that level where CBTC is not required. It can work on line of sight signaling. So Metro Neo is one which we are planning, 22 kilometer. And other than that, we are planning PRT, the spot taxi or battery operated driverless car. Again, it is a rubber tire based system. It is battery operated system, but that is a much cheaper system, and it is a much faster system. And it can be constructed in a very congested area also. So from those angles, this is a useful system. And probably that system will be useful for as a feeder system also in other parts. But right now, the planning in Uttarakhand is Metro Neo 22 kilometers in Dehradun and PRT in Hardwar, and also a ropeway system in Dehradun, which we are at planning stage. DPR is under preparation. That will be connecting some part of the city to the Metro Neo system. It will work as a feeder. And why we have chosen ropeway? Because the road in that area is so congested that even PRT cannot be constructed. No construction can be done on the road. So we have to go elevated, and elevated in such a way that you don't occupy the road. So ropeway is one system where you can have towers at maybe 400 meter, 200 meter, 300 meter, even 1 kilometer if you want. So you can avoid the ground usage to the bare minimum. So there we are planning to have this.
There will be intermodal integration between
intermodal integration. We are connecting ISBT. We are connecting in a railway station. Then we will be connecting all these ropeway, and also third mile connectivity will be provided. I would like to comment. I will take 30 seconds about the viability part of it. Rightly said by Mr. Banerjee that metro systems are not financially viable. And that is why at the policy level, before this policy of 2017, metro projects were being scrutinized by the MoHUA at internal rate of return, and it should be 8% above. Now they are not seeing the financial internal return at all. They are seeing now economic rate of return, because there are so many indirect advantages to the society. Those are to be monetized and accounted for.
That is absolutely true. I think now the mandate is to have an economic internal rate of return of more than 14%. But here comes the question that if most of these projects are not viable, the funding, there's a limited headroom with the government. The state support or the central budgetary support is limited. you can only take enough from multilaterals. In some way, you will have to bring in private sector. So my question to Mr. Amitabh, sir, would be that how do we bring them into the mix? Because to grow this sector, we need investments. And while we know that it's not intrinsically financially viable, but because of the benefits, we need to implement them. So how do we bring in the private sector into the mix?
So before I come to that question regarding viability, I would just like to supplement one thing, that the concept of EIRR was there at that point of time also, but that was never the deciding factor. The deciding factor was always the FIRR. And FIRR, very frankly speaking, either in railway system, the conventional railway system, or the metro rail, is absolutely a non-starter, because that is why most of the railway projects, the viability of these projects, what happens is, for these projects to go forward, for initiating these projects, these kinds of TPRs are formed. And these are very, they are formed on very, very optimistic, revenue expectation figures and all. That's why most of the railway projects you will see are not viable, including the metro projects. So we need to have a proper due diligence as far as the DPR is concerned, because most of the DPRs go wrong. That is primarily because of very, very optimistic figures that you take for the expected revenues, and those do not fructify. Same is the case with metro, that you anticipate a ridership of so much, say 19 lakhs, only 65,000 is coming. I mean, that's what's happening in Bangalore metro. That's what's happening in Hyderabad metro right now, because of the low ridership. So I mean, it's not as if it was not known, but probably same was the case of, I had been in Konkan Railway. I was director of finance in Konkan Railway once. The original DPR that was made was based on the assumption that there'll be a lot of tertiary industries along the Konkan belt, and a lot of industries would come up. That never came up. So therefore, the entire viability fell flat. So you need to you need to be alive to these kinds of variables. Number one, the FIRR for any metro all over the world is maximum 2 to 3%. This is proven. Now, as far as the question of private entrepreneurship is concerned, you see, this needs a very, very active government intervention. Let me tell you, only private entrepreneurs or private enterprises with deep pockets can sustain a metro project. We had burnt our hands, you'll be remembering, you all Delhiites, the airport metro. It became totally unviable for a private party, and they fled the scene. But what happened? It was not as if they didn't know the outcome, but it was based on a hypothesis, because you've got just two sources of revenue for a metro. One is the fare box revenue, the metro fares, and another is the non-fare box revenue. Now, fare box revenue is, it's limited because you are subject to fare fixation committees, recommendations, and obviously there has to be a cap. Since it's a public transport system, there would be a cap. So however much the ridership may be, that won't be enough to really meet both the ends. Then you take recourse to the non-fare box revenue, out of which, the advertisement revenue, the land usage revenue, and all that kind of stuff. Now, it was so optimistically, in the airport line, it was so optimistically estimated at such a high figure based on the ridership, which never came. And therefore, there was hardly any non-fare box revenue in the airport line. And then the private party had to flee the scene. So the government has to be an enabler. That's what I'm trying to aim at, that you need to be an enabler. You can't be too guarded about it. If you actually require the private sector to step in, yes, there is a lot of scope for private sector to also step in. And there have been cases like the first initial, the private enterprise was there in the rapid metro of Gurgaon. It was totally funded by the private sector. Then, of course, on a PPP model, the other metros have come up. The metro line 1 of Mumbai, then you have Hyderabad metro, and so on and so forth. But the point is, you have to understand that Hyderabad metro is also facing a lot of headwinds. Now, here, the government has to be an enabler. They have to leave something on the table for the private enterprise to step in and be an active player in the metro. So one thing which needs to be done is that, yes, I mean, there are, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Tyagi, that this new national metro rail policy of 2017 actually goes into a very methodical way of really addressing these very critical issues. And one of them is that how to make it viable for a private entrepreneur. So, what we can do is that you can unbundle certain activities. For instance, the operation and maintenance, the portion of metro rail, that can be, hived off to the private sector on a PPP basis or a revenue sharing model. Or you can do, another thing is the unlocking of the land potential. Now, there's a huge parcel of land, both with Indian Railways as well as Metro Rail. You need to unlock the intrinsic value of that land. So this land monetization program, and there is an increasing thrust of Government of India on monetization of assets that lie with Government of India. So various agencies of Government of India. So you need to unlock the intrinsic strength of these land parcels and the other assets that the metro authorities have, and then hive it off to the private sector. There are so many ways of inviting the private sector to be a partner. And while deciding on the revenue sharing formula, and I mean, for making the PPP projects viable, you have to leave something on the table for the private sector, which unfortunately doesn't happen, because we are the government functionaries are a bit guarded in that respect, and they're not entirely to blame, because for that, there's a whole chain. There's a host of oversight authorities who are always on your head. So you think twice, thrice, 4 times before taking a call, and before taking a very entrepreneurial kind of a call. The bureaucrats, unfortunately, it's not that they lack talent, but they unfortunately cannot venture into a very entrepreneurial kind of a call as far as making a disruption in the private model is concerned, in the PPP model is concerned, primarily because of the sometimes the oversight agencies, they go overboard and do not go into the intent of a decision making, and then that sets a lot of. I mean, you're all educated people, and you already know about the functioning. So these are the various constraints that actually affect the system. And Government of India, very frankly, Government of India is well invested with these issues, and they are going forward towards resolving these issues. So here there is a lot of initiative that needs to be taken by the government functionaries to invite the private sector and make the projects a viable proposition for the private entrepreneurs.
I think we are running short of time, but I will have one last question for Mr. Dudeja before I open it up for the audience. Mr. Dudeja, Mr. Banerjee mentioned about unlocking the value of land. And we all know RLDA has a lot of land bank. So are there any guidelines which are being framed at RLDA, or is there a policy level understanding of how do you want to monetize, or how do you want to maximize the value of land which RLDA is holding currently?
See, RLDA, as you know, it has got presence in the entire country. And railway, as rightly told by Mr. Banerjee, is sitting on a very precious land bank and right in the hearts of most of the cities of the country. But we have been given some land which have been declared surplus by Indian Railways. And we are working at an arm's length from Indian Railways. Whatever land they decide, they declare that it is beyond their requirement of operational use, they hand it over to us for long-term monetization. and we, after working on the product mix, what is suitable for that area and what best value can be taken out of that land, we do our due diligence and go to the market through open bidding. And if I share with you some records in 1920, we broke all our records of leasing of lands. Till then, we leased out about 1,553 crore worth of land to private players. And this year it was followed by COVID, and our activities as real estate market went down. So our activities slowed down due to COVID. Last year, we awarded lease contracts worth 600 crores only. But in the 6 months of this current year, we have already broken our previous record of 1920, and we have already awarded lease contracts worth 1,800 crores to the private players. So we have been given the mandate to redevelop colonies also by using the surplus FAR available in the colonies. As you know, our colonies are spread out over huge tracts of land in the form of single-story, double-story buildings. So we are planning for high-rise buildings over there, and giving the surplus FAR to the developers for monetizing and also developing our colonies. And over and above, we are earning out of that also. So this year we have already awarded about, I think, 7 colonies we have already awarded. Some in Ludhiana, Bareilly, Chennai, in Howrah, in Lucknow, so in Gorakhpur. So these colonies are already given for redevelopment, and we are also getting revenue out of that. For current year, we had set a target of 5,000 crore worth of leasing in this current year. We expect that we are on the way to achieving our target. But the thinking now is that first we should develop the stations, because most of our land is very near to the stations. And once stations become city centers, this will give a better value for our assets very near to the station. With that thinking, Government of India has already sanctioned the stations development program by its own funding, and we will be able to realize much more than what we expect today after we develop these stations. Like in New Delhi itself, we expect to develop around 25 lakh square meter of space right in the heart of the town, out of which 14 lakh square meter will be given for commercial and residential use for the private. 11 lakh will be used for station as well as for our own office and residential purposes. So this is how we are going about in most of the towns. We have prepared master plans for all the stations where we are developing our stations, taking into account the future commercial potential of the entire land surrounding that station. And once our station development program, as it is already taken off, we are now in the process of making bid documents for monetization and commercial development of these land parcels.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Dudeja. So I would want to open this up now for the delegates. Anyone have a question, please raise your hand and ask, and please call out to who you want to address this question to.
My name is Venkateshwar Chaturvedi. I am from DFCCIA. I just want to ask Mr. Dudeja, sir, how are you considering the Honorable Prime Minister Gati Shakti policy regarding land parcel, surplus land parcel?
Let me just correct you. I am from RLDA, not DFCC.
I am from DFCC.
Okay. As you know, Prime Minister Gati Shakti mission, it envisages integration of 16 ministries and to have an integrated approach of development so that there is no duplicacy. Suppose today I am doing a work and I am laying a cable. Tomorrow you come there and break the road and then break that cable, and then next agency comes again. So it is about integrated working. That is about PM Gati Shakti. And as you know, the logistic cost in the country today is about 13 to 14% of GDP. That is the figure I remember. And the mission of this PM Gati Shakti, as well as the new logistic policy, national logistic policy, which has just come into force, it is to bring down the cost of logistics down to one single digit. so below 10%, as soon as possible. So that is about the logistics and Gati Shakti. Because we are into RLDA, we are directly not dealing with the freight operations. Passenger operation being the authority for station development, we are dealing with that station development, and we look into the concept of multi-modal transport integration. So wherever we are developing our stations, we are ensuring that it is integrated with metro, it is integrated with the bus BRT, or like in Ahmedabad, we are integrating it with this bullet train, we are integrating it with metro, we are integrating it with BRT. And in Delhi also, we are integrating it with both the metro lines, like we have got an Airport Express line station over there, and Yellow Line metro station is there. So we are integrating with both these stations, our New Delhi station. And we are providing adequate bus bays, about 90 bus bays we are providing on both sides, 50 bus bays on Ajmeri Gate side, and about 41 bus bays on the Paharganj side, in our multi-level car parking itself. We are having in fact MMTH on both sides of the station, where ground level provides for bus bays, then next 4 levels provide for cars, autos, taxis, and top 3 floors are for our offices. So all our offices which we are creating, which we are now having in the New Delhi area, they will come in these 2 towers only. So wherever they are spread out, they will get integrated on those 2 places. So that is how we are integrating with the city. We are trying to integrate our station with the city and trying to create a city center for the people, where all the needs of the people can be addressed there itself. And under national TOD policy, that the land is being developed under mixed use, where we intend to have a concept of walk to work. So we don't need much of transport to work within that area. People are living there, they are working there only. And because it is integrated with airport, so people can just come for business meetings. They don't need to have any vehicle to go in the city. We'll be providing city centers there itself. People can have meetings on the station itself and go back to their places by using public transport without using any road vehicles.
But station like New Delhi and Mumbai, they are having very huge traffic of a parcel, daily parcel. What is the planning for handling of a parcel traffic?
You see, the parcel specials, that we are trying that they should be handled separately, not as a part of the passenger trains, because they are dedicated parcel trains which can be handled separately. But there are parcels which are handled by the trains itself. There is 1 or 2 coaches which are kept for high value parcels in the trains, in the passenger trains itself. There we are providing dedicated corridors for parcel handling.
Thank you.
Okay. So one last question. I'm sorry, we are running out of time. Can we do it offline? I'm there as hard pressed for time. There is some booking issue. Okay. This can become the last question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, New Delhi station is very close to Old Delhi station. Aerial distance is very less. Like in airports, we have major station interconnectivity. Do you have analysis that for Old Delhi, New Delhi, and maybe say Nizamuddin or any other stations?
Sorry, I have not understood the question. Are you connecting? No. Okay, they are already connected by trains.
That is all right, but
Yeah.
aerially you are saying you are planning so many kilometers of roads around New Delhi.
No, it is basically for easing out the traffic at New Delhi station itself. We cannot have elevated roads all over the city. That is no. उसका सोल्यूशन तो इसमें नहीं, हर चीज का सोल्यूशन एक जगह तो पॉसिबल शायद नहीं है कि एलिवेटेड रोड अगर सिटी की होंगी तो दैट कैन नॉट ऑब्वियसली बिकम द पार्ट ऑफ स्टेशन डेवलपमेंट. It is for the particular station and area around the station. We have studied the traffic in 800-meter radius around the station, and we have catered to that 800-meter radius, which is covered under national TOD policy. All development, including Paharganj, including that very great side area, which is as of now developed very haphazardly. We have planned for traffic projections for all those developments coming up in the coming 40 to 50 years.
Well, I'll just request your indulgence for one more minute. No, I'll not do justice to my presence out here if I do not talk about business as far as our organization is concerned. So many people have got this misconception that IRFC is basically meant for financing Indian railways. That's not the case. You see, the basic mandate of IRFC is to provide funds to any sector which has a backward/forward linkage with Indian railways. And that covers almost the entire gamut of activity, including metros. So what I would exhort all the metro authorities are that once you are done with the JICA funding, and if you fall short, please do approach us. And IRFC would be too, glad and eager, because you need to talk shop, especially when you have been given this platform. So I would exhort all the metros, and they are absolutely welcome. As if the viability is there, yeah. From our standpoint, because we are a nil NPA company, so we have to look after the strength of the financial strength of that particular project. You're most welcome, and we will be extremely glad to contribute towards the development of the metro movement in India. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that, and a round of applause for all our panelists and of course our moderator, Mr. Sareen. May I now request the kind presence of Mr. Ashutosh Shukla and Mr. Indrajit Saoji on stage to please present with a token of our appreciation to each of our speakers, amongst applauses from all of you yet again. Let's hear it up for them, please. And once again, to all our audience members, thank you so very much for making this day so very interactive. I promised you some amazing gifts for our most interactive audience members. My colleague Tarun here will be presenting you the token for that. And many, many congratulations to all the winners. Of course, a big thank you to Mr. Sareen. Mr. Banerjee, sir, may I request you to please join us as we take a moment and thank you for your enlightening thoughts there. Mr. Dudeja, thank you so very much, sir, for joining us. Mr. Tyagi, sir, may I request you to please step forward and give us an opportunity to thank you for your time and of course for sharing your thoughts with us. Applauses from our audience. I know a lot of you all had many more questions. I promise you a little later, I'll be welcoming you for networking tea. You're more than welcome to connect. May I request all of you to please join us for a group picture so that we can capture a moment right here. Mr. Banerjee, sir, may I request you to join us for a group picture? Let's create a memory out of this moment. And very soon we will be felicitating leaders of the industry who have contributed in a big way to metro rail industry right here, and we'd like to take a moment and honor them. May I please request Mr. Shukla and Mr. Saoji to continue with their presence here on stage as we take a moment and thank the veterans of the industry. Once again, a big thank you to our panelists and our moderator for joining us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. May I request you to please take a seat as I now request all of you to please put your hands together. We are now about to welcome on stage leaders of the industry, leaders who have contributed in their very special way to Metro Rail India. in one way or the other, they're the ones guiding us through. They're the ones putting this show together and this game together. So may I please request all of you to put your hands together as I extend a very warm welcome with music flowing for Mr. Jitendra Tyagi, MD, Uttarakhand Metro Rail Corporation. A round of applause as we request sir's presence here on stage and as we acknowledge the work that he has done and his outstanding contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mr. Jitendra Tyagi. We thank you, sir. And taking this lead forward is Mr. Sahadev Singh Rathi, Director, Projects and Planning, Gujarat Metro Rail Corporation. May I request all of you to please put your hands together for a leader who is really taking the lead when it comes to Gujarat Metro Rail Corporation, making sure that he guides the way further and takes us on this digital journey of urban rail. May I now request the presence of Mr. Devendra Datta Mishra, ED, Rolling Stock, Mahametro, to please join us on stage. Applauses from our kind audience as we request sir's presence here and taking the walk of fame for his extraordinary work done in Metro Rail India. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. May I request all of you all to please take a seat. And as we get set to thank all of you personally, may I once again take a moment and thank our partners for their support in bringing to us this fabulous theme, the digital future of urban rail. Of course, we bring to you this absolutely brilliant show powered by Schneider Electric. Let me also thank our silver partner, Bhavan Cybertech, Jay Kumar, our official magazine Construction Week. And of course, we present to you this fantastic event by ITP Media, and on behalf of the entire team, may I please request Ms. Jayashree Mendes to join us here on stage and personally thank all of you all. A round of applause for her, please.
Thank you so much. You've been a very patient audience. It's not easy for us to get an entire metro crowd here at such an event, at such a large event. We've had some very distinguished people here, and thank you so much for attending. You will see the coverage of this event on the November issue of Construction Week and also on YouTube. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jayashree, for adding all that grace on this stage. And let me once again take this opportunity by thanking all of you all for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you in our next edition. Till then, please enjoy the festive season that's around the corner. Thank you so very much for joining us. This is Isha Bhalla signing off on behalf of the entire team of ITP Media. Thank you. Please enjoy tea and coffee. Our team Tarun has reached out to the winners. So many congratulations on the big win. Thank you.